What's going on, everyone? So we have a trade from the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers are actually moving up in tonight's draft. Remember, the Lakers do have a pick in the second round. They have the 55th pick. Well, Shams just reported that the Los Angeles Lakers are moving up in the draft. So the Los Angeles Lakers are moving up in the second round of the NBA draft tonight, acquiring the number 45th pick from the Chicago Bulls for number 55 and cash, sources tell ESPN. So I know a lot of people really wanted to see the Lakers move into the first round. That was likely never going to happen, right? I talked about the potential of it, but all of the talk was, hey, do you turn Austin Reeves into multiple picks, right? A team like the Brooklyn Nets, do you take Dalton Connect and turn them into multiple picks, right? To go make other trades, not necessarily draft selections, right? Lakers are trying to win right now. They're not trying to go and draft 5 first-round picks to put around Luka and LeBron. No, they're trying to go get the assets necessary to make moves. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't draft a guy or, if a guy in the second round or whatnot if they kept their 55th pick. But this is now something that the Lakers can now, which clearly signals to me that there is somebody that the Lakers are interested in that they believe will be in that 45 range. Because they didn't move up a ton, right? They're not going and getting the 31st pick, right? They're not going and getting even the Brooklyn Nets 36th pick. Now, do the Lakers go and make other moves in this draft, right? That could be very possible. But Lakers, Shams just reported this because, like I said, as I'm recording this is in real time. Lakers move up 10 picks as they eye a young talent in the second round of the draft tonight. I'm curious who that is, right? Because, again, are they going after a center? Are they going after a 3-and-D guy? There wasn't a ton of news on guys that they worked out, right? There wasn't a ton of news on guys that were like, oh, Lakers worked out this guy and that guy. Like, they had some guys early on that they worked out. But also with the 55th pick, because something that I talked about was, do the Lakers look to kind of the undrafted free agency? Because with the 55th pick, you're right there, right? Like you're couple picks away from, I don't even know if there is the full 60 this time. I think a couple teams don't have a pick, but regardless, right? You're like 5 picks away from undrafted free agency. There we go. I didn't want to say unrestricted free agency, but you look at this Lakers team and you look at kind of like what they need and whatnot. And if they can get a guy that they believe can help in the rotation now, right? Go get that guy. And then any guy that you draft at 55, right? There's probably a handful of guys that are there. All of those guys are probably not getting drafted, right? So you're probably going to have 1 or 2, maybe even several that are going to go undrafted that the Lakers can then go sign in undrafted free agency, right? Where something like this, you move up to the 45th pick. That means there is clearly somebody that the Lakers have in mind, or several guys, because I would imagine that they have probably a handful of guys. Because if there was a guy specifically that you believed, hey, we want, like, this is the guy we want, right? Then you'd probably try to move up to that, 31st pick to make sure that no one else takes that guy for whatever reason, right? Again, we saw for the most part, the first round kind of went how you thought, but there were some surprises, right? Portland taking Yang, right? Like, that was a surprise. And then once you get to the second round, it really becomes a crapshoot and a surprise, right? Because you don't know what teams are now they're just trying to grab guys that they like as development guys, or guys that they think like, oh, could maybe be a future, or guys that like, hey, let's kind of stash this guy, draft and stash, right? So a guy like the Lakers could have a specific player in mind that they want to go get. They want to go draft. And that guy could be off the board before they go and get the 45th pick. So my guess is the Lakers probably have a couple guys in that draft that they're interested in and looking at. I'm curious to see who that is and what direction do they go, right? Like, is it a center, or is it something, or is it like a two-way wing? Right? Because like with the 55th pick, I talked about like going and getting Zion James, right? Can you go get him, kind of Lou Dort type? But it's also possible he's there undrafted. Right? Amari Williams is a guy that was heavily linked to the Lakers. Right? Now, again, he's a guy that could potentially go undrafted. So do the Lakers look at this like, hey, maybe we can get a higher end talent, or maybe a development guy? Are they looking at a center? But if they're looking at a center, you got a couple things to keep in mind. One, right? You have Christian Koloko. You have trade Jamison and the potential of Jackson Hayes, right? I'm not saying like any of those guys are so good you have to keep them, but like what are the Lakers' plans with those guys? Are they, because if you go and get a backup center, right? Like say you go and draft a center, right, with the 45th pick, and then you go and trade for, let's say, Nick Claxton, right? And then you sign a Clint Capella. Yeah, like it's cool. You have that draft guy that's your third big, fine. Right? But then, so what? You're letting Christian Koloko go, you're letting Trey Jamison go, you're letting those guys go, which again, I don't think is the end of the world, but that's something like where Koloko could be your third big. And Lakers, again, have other needs, such as 3-and-D wings. So is there a guy in the draft that the Lakers look at that they go, hey, this guy would make a lot of sense to bring in? Also, do the Lakers still buy a pick, right? They gave cash consideration to move up the 10 spots, right? But you have, as you know, with the CBA, you have a certain amount of cash threshold that you're allowed to use to, accumulate picks in the second round and whatnot, right? So we don't have the exact number on, at least at the time of recording this video. Maybe it comes out. I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on it, see if maybe we get that news. But the cash consideration, depending on what it is, Lakers could still maybe go buy a second round pick. Maybe they go buy Brooklyn's 36th pick, right? Now they have the 36th pick and the 45th pick. That could be something that the Lakers look to do. And then maybe then you're getting that center plus a 3-and-D wing, right? Lakers have options. The other thing too, Lakers are going to need to fill a roster, right? Because let's say the Lakers trade for Nick Claxton. Just using him as an example. It's also probably the most likely, but sticking with Nick Claxton, right? You're going to have to give up multiple players, right? Or even Andrew Wiggins. Let's say the Lakers, because Andrew Wiggins has been heavily linked to the Lakers recently. If the Lakers go trade for Andrew Wiggins, you're trading at least two guys, right? Like let's say Rui and Gabe Vincent, right? To go get Andrew Wiggins. Okay, well, Wiggins replaces Rui. Cool. But now you have that empty roster spot. So not only do you have Gabe Vincent falling off, but you have, Jackson Hayes likely departing. You have Markieff Morris likely departing, and then you have Alex Len likely departing, and you have Shake Milton, who's on a non-guarantee that you can end up getting off of. So Lakers could potentially have, depending on how trades shake up, 5 to 6 open roster spots that they have to fill, right? And yes, free agency, but this isn't like a super deep free agency with a bunch of options and guys that you can get, and Lakers are limited on money and all that stuff, so the Lakers might be able to kind of fill some of these holes, fill some of these needs by just using guys in the draft, right? You go bring in, a guy with the 45th pick, and then go and, Christian Koloko, sign him, and then now you're bringing in like 3 free agents. And then if you need to waive, Shake Milton, you can always waive a Shake Milton, like if there's that guy, right? So maybe you're bringing in, maybe you're drafting a 3-and-D wing. I'll just use Zion James still, right? Let's say you draft Zion James, right? And then you go and you get a Clint Capella, and then you go get, a DeAnthony Melton and a Gary Harris. Boom, right? Now you solve those needs. Still have Shake Milton as a contract you can sign off, right? And then, if you need to, you can always waive him to bring that guy in, right? Lakers could go that kind of route because, again, they're going to need to kind of fill a roster. A lot of the guys that are kind of in that 55 range, some of them might, are my guess is that the Lakers, there's somebody at 55 that the Lakers really liked that they think has the potential of getting drafted early. Because it wasn't like they moved, like 10 spots, don't get me wrong, is pretty significant, right? Moving 10 spots back. But clearly there's a guy, like in that 10 spot range, right? Like I said, Lakers probably have a handful of guys that they're interested in. In that range, there's probably going to be 1 or 2 of those guys that the Lakers are really interested in that are at 55. So that leads me to believe, and this is just my thoughts, right? This leads me to believe that either A, there's a guy that they absolutely want, that they need to ensure that they get, right? Again, maybe Zion James, maybe it is Amara Williams, maybe it is, one of these, prospects that they could go into. I've covered and went over a bunch of them, but there's several options that the Lakers could potentially have and look at that they can now go and pivot to go land a guy. One, it's good to just see the Lakers have some traction for one, right? I know we're all kind of like anxiously waiting around. I mean, look, nothing was going to happen in the first round. I know we all wanted like the Andrew Wiggins trade or something like that to happen, but chances are all those like trades are going to happen once we get into actual free agency, once we get through the draft, unless there were actually moving pieces. I would have loved if the Lakers could have gotten a Nick Claxton and like the 22nd pick. That would have been awesome, right? Just to get a guy in the draft. But again, it wasn't something that was likely going to happen. In this case, now the Lakers can go, they get a guy, right? Young, cheap prospect that they can grow and develop, which is something that the Lakers really want to do. Lakers have also had a ton of success with drafting guys in the second round. Ton of success. And there are several guys in this draft. I'm curious to see if the Lakers draft a project or they draft somebody that can help now, because there are several guys in this draft in the second round that could potentially, you never really know, but could potentially help immediately, right? Zion James is one of those players. I think gives you that like a bigger Lou Dort type that is legit 3-and-D guy, but even if he's not knocking down the three with some consistency because he's a rookie, the defense should still be there, and just that peskiness and relentlessness and guys like that. So, I'm really excited to kind of see how that shapes up. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.